Hey friends, I thought I would say Happy April Fool's Day, except that I really detest April Fools. And then I thought maybe I should say Happy Easter, except I also detest religious holidays like Easter. So I guess I'm just going to shut up about that and continue on. Forget that miserable crapola and let's talk about some other miserable crapola. So, the reason I'm talking about this today is it has come to my attention that YouTube is full of crazy people. You know, not mentally ill people, people who are just literally full of crazy ideas. And it bugs me. So, I typically talk about creationists, but creationists have been around for decades, and they've been doing their best to wreck education and science, okay? It's a mistake, though, to think that that's their intent. To believe that, gosh, they're just honestly uncomfortable with this little fact. It makes them unhappy to think about their Bible not being literally true in every word. But it's deeper than that. They're not just uncomfortable with one thing, kind of like how I might be uncomfortable with eating Brussels sprouts. They think they're taking a principled stand on the science. Okay, because several years ago, we saw a lot of these same people, these creationists, jumping on the climate change bandwagon to the point where the National Center for Science Education had to broaden their brief to include climate change denial as well as creationism and evolution denial. We should have noticed at this time that this isn't just a picky rejection of one little datum that they dislike from the vast catalog of science. These are people who want to flip the whole damn table and throw plates and murder the chef. It now comes to my attention how many of these creationist wackaloons and climate science denialists are also wholesale into cancer quackery and just the whole rotting shitbag of alternative medicine and magic herbs and weird useless therapies and worshipping forgotten wisdom of the ancients. You know, the same ancients who had all been dying of infections and poor sanitation and cancer and plague, and who are now somehow revered as authorities. I won't even get into all the flat earthers now, because you have got to be kidding me. And here's the thing. We too often find that it isn't just a few individuals with a few reservations about a couple of phenomena that they don't know much about. A situation that we could address with more education, more outreach, more careful training in the basics of science. No, these are people who bought into a whole interlinked network of horrible ideas, from conspiracy theories and snake oil to fake news and pseudoscientific quackery. They aren't just rejecting science out of ignorance, but because they're locked into a living parade of lying authorities and bogus mythology. It's a positive belief on their part, a positive misbelief. One of the oldest scams in the book, older even than creationism, is the fake cancer cure. Cancer is a truly horrible disease and also kind of an inevitable one. It's a disease of increasing incidence with age. So if something else doesn't kill you, cancer is sitting there waiting in the wings to get you. I can understand why people desire a cure, and all of my sympathy for those who do suffer from it. What I cannot tolerate is the fraud who pretends to have a cure and is really just in it for the opportunity to pretend to have deep knowledge that they actually lack. I recently learned that a creationist I have engaged with briefly here on YouTube is one of those charlatans. Not only is he hemming and hawing about the flat earth, which I ought to get him flagged as a twit who should be totally ignored at all times, just with that. Not only is he arguing that evolution is impossible, another claim that marks him as a know-nothing, but he is now making claims that chemotherapy doesn't work, and that what does work is a bunch of dietary supplements and weird nutritional schemes. All you need is diet and exercise. If you're exercising regularly, eating a good diet, you don't have to worry, you won't get cancer. If you do get cancer, it's because you weren't taking care of yourself properly. And that annoys the heck out of me. Here's some news for you. We know what causes cancer. Being in good shape can help you resist the disease, but it's not enough. Cancer is caused by the accumulation of genetic errors over time. How do we know this? Because scientists can cut a cancer out of someone's body, take it apart, examine it for mutations, and they're there. We've identified genes such as those associated with the control of cell division, with cell signaling, with maintenance of the fidelity of replication. They're all damaged in these cancer cells. We can pluck out the cancer cells and actually identify the molecular basis of the defects. That should tell you exactly what's going on here. We do know what causes these errors. Some of them are a consequence of exposure to carcinogens. Carcinogens are essentially small molecules that can directly damage the genetic material and therefore increase the frequency of errors. The fact that substances that damage DNA also increase the frequency of cancer is further evidence that the root cause of cancer is accumulated genetic errors. Furthermore, normal, healthy cells, normal cell division has a low error rate. It's a low but not negligible error rate. Even if you aren't exposed to carcinogens at all, an actual impossibility since your own metabolism produces carcinogens, just living involves continuous cell replication, so errors are a necessary consequence and will occur unavoidably. They're rare, but you can't escape. Here's what causes cancer. It's called living. I know what the next question is. If we know what causes cancer, why can't we cure it? And that's because cancer is 1,000 different diseases, and because cancer cells are your very own cells. That is why cancer is such fertile ground for quacks and con artists, because doctors also cannot provide a 100% guaranteed cure. They never will be able to, because cancer is an extremely complicated and diverse disease. And in fact, doctors can show you actuarial statistics that show how often they fail. Ethical, responsible doctors are honest about these problems. It's the frauds who claim certainty. Every cancer is unique with its own combination of genetic changes. Every cancer is diverse. A cancer is not one thing, but an assortment of cells with different combinations of genetic errors. And every cancer changes over time. It evolves, literally, as cells divide and generate new mutations. It's a moving target. Furthermore, these are your cells. We have huge disadvantages in treating cancer. Antibiotics, for instance, work by targeting consistent differences in foreign cells from our own cells. But cancer cells are our own cells. These aren't alien invaders. They're the same as our normal cells, but cancer cells just have chance variations that make them differ in subtle ways from all those other cells around them. The chemotherapeutic approach is basically to hit a few properties that are common in cancer, like rapid proliferation, but which unfortunately are also shared to some degree with healthy cells. We don't have a specific poison for just cancer cells. It doesn't also affect healthy cells. That there are no insta-cures does not imply, however, that there aren't effective treatments. There is a vast body of empirical evidence behind modern cancer therapies. Everyone that your doctor recommends has been clinically tested out the wazoo for effectiveness. Oncologists are obsessed with careful assessment and statistics. So why do they recommend chemotherapy? Because they tested it and saw that it prolonged life, reduced cancer growth, or made the disease bearable. This isn't some snake oil salesman pulling a magic potion out of their butt. It's a consequence of rigorous analysis. If you want to claim chemotherapy kills, all they have to do is shake the actual physical results in your face to prove you wrong. So several years ago, I was in a conversation with a pediatric oncologist, and I said, that must be a terribly depressing job because you're hanging out with all these sick, dying kids all day long. And she said, no, it wasn't at all depressing because they saved many of those kids and they see them getting better. And every year they get concrete measurements that show that their methods are improving. And furthermore, they do these assessments that guide them in making next year's outcomes even more successful. It's a tough job, but doctors are basically the people who have become competent at dealing best with it. That's why you should go see doctors, not quacks. Unlike the frauds who get on YouTube or Goop or the typical alternative medicine site, those are people who don't do the hard work because they've discovered that it's profitable just to lie about it and present false results. People will buy it, just promise them the moon, and then you trust that the cancer will kill them before they can kill your references. And that's what pisses me off about these phonies. Not only do they lie about life and death matters for human beings, but they often carry along a whole battery of other bullshit baggage. They believe in conspiracy theories, in creationism, and religious nonsense contrary to all evidence and reason, in ghosts and supernatural agents, in angels and demons. And we don't reject them out of hand like we should. They linger on, spreading lies, misinforming the public, and have succeeded in infecting the internet with poison. Sometimes literal poison, telling people to drink turpentine or to risk toxic shock syndrome by stuffing rocks up their vaginas. You should call liars liars. Call quacks quacks. Don't hesitate to speak out against the dangerous nonsense that's being spread on the internet and elsewhere. This is personal for me, and I'm sure it is for all of us. We've all had family members, loved ones, friends who have suffered through cancer. I have friends and family who are coping with it right now. I've also had family members who've died of cancer. And I'll just mention a few of my closer relatives who have suffered with this disease. So my grandfather, Paul Westhead, died of an oral cancer that just basically destroyed his mouth and jaw. An aunt, Corinne de Maisons, died of liver cancer some years ago. Another aunt, Florence Sowards, died of pancreatic cancer. And my sister-in-law, Karen Myers, died of an aggressive melanoma. All died too soon, but without modern medical treatment, they would have suffered more and died even sooner. Cancer surgery and chemotherapy gave us the last few months of grace with all of them. So please, please, please do not put up with these quacks who come online and peddle bogus therapies or downplay the importance of modern medicine in treating cancer.